Hello and welcome to Afterlife Topics. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing to the channel or becoming a patron at patreon.com/Afterlife Topics.
Actually is a program that's been in place for a few years in terms of a task force that has been there under the National Defense Authorization Act. But as you correctly point out, Maria, there's now a report that will be issued by the Pentagon, by the Secretary of Defense and the Director of National Intelligence. I actually wanted to get this information out and declassified before I left office, but we weren't able to get it down into an unclassified format that we could talk about quickly enough. But frankly, there are a lot more sightings than have been made public. Some of those have been declassified. When we talk about sightings, we're talking about objects that have been seen by Navy or Air Force pilots or have been picked up by satellite imagery that frankly engage in actions that are difficult to explain, that movements that are hard to replicate, that we don't have the technology for, or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without a sonic boom. So in short, things that we are observing that are difficult to explain. And so, there's actually quite a few of those, and I think that information is being gathered and will be put out in a way that the American people can see. We always, when we see these things, Maria, we always look for a plausible explanation. Weather can cause disturbances, visual disturbances. Sometimes we wonder whether or not our adversaries have technologies that are a little bit further down the road than we thought or that we realized. But there are instances where we don't have good explanations for some of the things that we've seen. And, when that information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Can you tell us where it was seen?
Actually, all over the world. There have been sightings all over the world. And when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you is it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking up these things. And so, again, some of this are they're unexplained phenomenon. And there's actually quite a few more than have been made public. So I think it'll be healthy for as much of this information to get out there as possible so that the American people can see.
All right, so who was that? That was John Ratcliffe, former Director of National Intelligence here in the United States of America, talking about the great ongoing disclosure process of the UFO phenomenon. In this video, I want to talk about why this matters so much and how it matters so much even in relation to what we talk about on this channel, psychic phenomena, life after death, the spirit world, things like that. It really is a groundbreaking time to be living in, even though, the best part of that video may have been Ratcliffe's kind of smug grin, which to me kind of speaks it all about, how much of this he already knows about, how deep people in certain positions of power know about ET contact, and how it is very exciting to be the ones who are able to begin opening that door in this very timed, very controlled fashion, suiting whatever private interests have decided to allow information to come out. So those of us with half a brain know that this whole thing is being orchestrated. We know that it's following a timeline, and we know that it's not the most honest operation. Coming from these types of people, how much honesty can you expect? But I think it matters a lot with what we are getting and what is going to happen and what's going to happen with this report coming out. Before we go further, you are watching Afterlife Topics. This is Cyrus, and we of course talk about these types of things in this channel, the supernatural, metaphysics, and very often where we go when we cross over. If you like these types of things, go down, hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it, or think about becoming a patron over at the Patreon page, patreon.com/Afterlife Topics, where you can also work with me personally about astral projection, coaching, and all that good stuff. All right, with that out of the way, why is it that the disclosure initiative matters so much? And so again, this was a video from the Twitter of a Daniel Shayteen, And this particular embedded Twitter video of Ratcliffe talking, just this one Twitter video has almost 500,000 views. And so this is really big news. I mean, it's things have been escalating in this area, and what we have is, now Ratcliffe, who's as high up as it gets, implying that these UAPs are likely extraterrestrial. He didn't say those words, but he's talking about their unknown abilities. He's talking about how they do things, how they already look for the plausible explanations. They look for they want to rule it out as weather balloons and things like that, but that's not working so much. It's leaving behind these alternative explanations, which obviously means ETs. Now, there's a reason why this matters so much, because the UFO and ET topic, let's just put aside the fact that having to come to terms with that, we are being visited, we're not alone. For me, that's not a big deal. I already know these things. Some people are going to freak out. Some very religious people might cause some anarchy. Most people will be excited. The other half of people will be like, meh, and go about their lives as usual. But the reason it's, I think, such a big deal, and the angle I'm looking at it from, is the fact that the skeptics, the materialist establishment, the academic establishment, folks like Bill Nye, who I made my prior video about, folks like Neil Tyson or Michael Shermer, and these people who consider themselves the gatekeepers of what is acceptable information and what's not. All of these people are going to have to eat collective crow. This is also going to permanently destroy their credibility, because what is the number 2 topic that they pick on? That they, in addition to saying that, psychic abilities are not real, non-materialism is not real, we're all biological robots in a meaningless, mindless universe, and that's the way existence is. Evolution is a mindless machine that wants to kill you. Consciousness is an illusion. All these fun, happy, positive messages that are taught and reinforced into us to make the human society miserable and easily controlled and out of touch with their own innate powers and abilities. It's a very well-crafted system. The gatekeepers of that system, the number 2 topic they like to pick on, it's like, the people who think that there's UFOs, they're crazy people. It's people who are easily excited. The same people who say that we're biological robots and consciousness isn't real and life is meaningless are the same people who say that we're probably alone in the universe. You can see just how far the nihilism spreads with these people. But this is why non-materialism, the paradigm of non-materialism, doesn't take root in societies, because I think clandestine organizations and not so clandestine outer interests and people with a lot of money keep that system, they keep that machine going. And there's a lot of useful little helper idiots out there who, for the sake of power, side with that machine. I mean, I debated one of those useful idiots over on the Seeking Eye channel a couple months ago. You can go watch that debate. And there's a lot of people who consider them, other people besides that gentleman, who consider themselves professional skeptics. They are the guardians. They are the gatekeepers. Anything we talk about in this channel, immediately falsifiable, because the gatekeepers, the guardians of human knowledge, say no. Well, this is now breaking out, and it will forever destroy their credibility. It will destroy the credibility of every Bill Nye, every Tyson, every Michael Shermer, every Dawkins, all these guys. I'm trying to think about who else. There was quite a few names. P.Z. Myers, a lot of these guys who get such a power trip off this stuff. As well as, I'm sorry to say, a lot of the new atheist movement, people who, again, rooted in what they think is being, rebellious. Ooh, we're rebelling against the church. In reality, it's like the church And the materialists, they're married to each other. They've been married for a very long time because it's kind of like two different dynamics of maintaining control over the population. So, you got the materialists who maintaining control of the physical sciences, and you got religion, which also kind of doesn't prevent outside or alternative thought or ideas. And they actually decided to become married several hundred years ago during some specific reforms of the Catholic Church and their dividing of the material sciences from theology. So that's how long this has been in place. So all the edgy new atheist types, like, like I reject anything, spiritual because we're all mindless machines and all that kind of like nihilistic babble. They're not being edgy at all. They're not raging against the machine. They're raging for the machine because that is the machine. Non-materialism is the alternative. And to quote The Mandalorian, non-materialism, this is the way. It's the way forward with science, philosophy, health, and many, many other things, and it's what stops humanity from progressing, in my opinion, as a pundit that you're listening to. So again, who are the gatekeepers? These people who rise to the occasion to become the gatekeepers because it's often very lucrative. Will people keep listening to them once it's known that there's ETs? No. So that means that there are establishment powers deciding that they're going to be so benevolent as to begin changing that paradigm for us. And by doing so, they are going to be sacrificing up all the little guardians. They're going to begin, the paradigm will begin changing as this stuff rolls out. So within the next couple of years. And it's been on a timeline that many have predicted. But many people saying 2024 might be the big year. But this is going to be another one of those like leading up to it moments when the Pentagon releases this report that Ratcliffe was talking about that shows us many, many more UFO sightings sanctioned by the government besides just the Tic Tacs. And they don't have normal explanations. And you have the top officials who are releasing these things. So now, when you get those pseudo-skeptics and materialist lobbying these people trying to just, keep their boot on humanity, you show these videos. You're going to be able to show these documents, show this information. And you can watch them, you'll be able to watch them squirm. And most likely, because, I'm from my memories of dealing with these types of people, they're going to double down because they can't be wrong. They've never been wrong about anything. That's their attitude. And so they're going to say, no, the government's mistaken. Obviously, these are just unmanned drones by China. Never mind the fact you have whole government committees studying the phenomena and concluding that it's not drones. These things often defy physics, defy gravity, and have technology that is not non-terrestrial. That's the big takeaway. And if I had the B-roll to pull up, I'd pull up the famous Tic Tac footage. I think most of you guys have seen it. If you haven't, you can easily find it online. And it's been well established now, and they have not relented on this slow disclosure process. And I think it's going to keep going and going until someday, okay, maybe. What's exciting is this. If some of these insiders are to be believed, the people who claim that they worked in these clandestine programs, I mean, the Randy Kramers, the Emery Smiths, there's quite a few of these people, that I've followed who claim to have been on the inside. To a minor extent, Bob Lazar. Although some of the other insiders, they go even far above and beyond what Bob Lazar spoke of. What it means is we have the technology, we have the ships, and we have the deals with ETs. And ETs appreciate our engineering capabilities, our genetics. There's things that they want from us. And there's things we want from them, and we keep it all hidden in our own secret programs. We fly these ships around, And we don't reveal it because we don't want other governments to also have their versions and their secret space programs. And so we have our own operations going already. We have access to this technology. But for whatever reason, they're thinking the time has come because maybe we've had ships like this in the hangar bays of Area 51s and wherever else, underwater bases and all these crazy facilities that the public doesn't know about. The time has come to excuse me, begin revealing that to the public because maybe there's some private interests involved. Maybe they struck a deal with the oil companies that they can begin releasing on a timeline certain types of, I don't know, free energy or some of the technology they discovered because maybe they had to make an agreement that they'll be the first to profit because you can't just like dismantle these trillion-dollar companies. They would never allow it. They would probably assassinate anyone who would try. So these are the types of barriers in place, but they must have arranged some kind of an agreement to begin rolling this stuff out. What happens if it rolls out? Well, we'd be looking at basically, I think a combination of two different TV shows. One would be Star Trek. So we'll have that technology to have starships to be able to manipulate gravity, go anywhere in the universe, and visit other species, and we'll have a whole space infrastructure, straight out of science fiction, and with straight up Star Trek technology, mixed with the TV show The Expanse. And in the show The Expanse, basically the far future and space is also ruled by private entities and corporations and factions and crazy people and a lot of nasty stuff. So Star Trek is idyllic if we could figure out how to live with each other, and big corporations and private entities could, unite around the common goal of humanity. We wouldn't be dividing each other based upon race or deciding, we don't have enough division and strife on the planet. Let's pump the media full of a bunch of hysteria so that black people and white people hate each other again. Or let's just arbitrarily decide to start bombing somewhere in the world again. Whatever the case may be, we see strife and division, and this is how humans operate. So we will create this kind of monster where we have powerful technology, we're spacefaring, but we're bringing all along all those human values as well of strife, selfishness, and things like that. Now, am I a pessimist? No. I think that a non-materialist paradigm has the potential to straighten a lot of these things out, because a lot of people are acting upon the materialist paradigm that makes them so selfish, that makes officials divisive, that makes political movements turn evil on both sides of the spectrum. But there's been some evil political movements, especially in the USA as of late, and various things like that, right? So the materialist paradigm teaches that it's every man and woman for themselves, and whoever dies with the most money, the most power wins. And they can put a bunch of BS to sugarcoat that and be like, oh, I believe in these values and humanism and these ideals, and I'm against racism, and I'm against this, and I'm going to demonstrate to everyone how virtuous I am by canceling anyone who disagrees with me. So, there's all these like sugar-coated ideas, but for those of us who are a little bit intuitive, and we will see people pretending to be so virtuous, but inside it's corrupted. People who still only care about themselves, power, money, fame, and things like that. And the materialist paradigm is actually what powers all of that. Keeps people nihilistic, fatalistic, depressed, selfish, self-centered, and all of that. So once you bust down the materialism paradigm, it's going to help everyone on a psychological basis, and it's still going to be rough, but slowly we'll begin figuring it out so that we can have a future that is more like Star Trek and less like The Expanse. Which, by the way, The Expanse is a great show too. It's not all gloom and doom or anything like that. Very interesting concepts of advanced extraterrestrial life and things like that on that show that I really like. But it's not as optimistic as Star Trek is. And like I said, we can get to the Star Trek future this way, through the philosophy. So we have the technology already, I believe. Again, I mean, to listen to the Bob Lazar interview on Joe Rogan from a couple of years back, if you doubt any of this. We have the technology. We'll be able to travel the stars, and it'll be amazing for a while. Then it'll be commonplace, normal stuff. But the question is, do we have the philosophy to go with it? Do we have the philosophy to make it into something that's good for all of us? So that's my question for you guys, and thank you for watching this episode. I'm a bit knackered right now, as they say in the UK, because I drove 10 hours from Los Angeles to Tucson. So as you can see, I'm back in Tucson. It's my old backdrop, my nicer equipment. But I'm also still suffering from long-haul COVID, which means every couple days out of the week, the last big symptom that has not gone away is the fatigue. And so a couple days out of the week, I'll get knocked on my ass with a really bad fatigue. The day was one of those days, combined with being tired from driving, combined with not sleeping much last night, combined with getting on the ketogenic diet, which can cause fatigue when you're adjusting to it, because I'm hoping the ketogenic diet might solve some of my long-haul issues by eliminating carbohydrate-based inflammation. Some people have had success with this, but to get to ketosis, more fatigue. So it's like a quadruple dose of just fatigue, feeling terrible, but I'm pushing a video out anyway. And what keeps me going? Well, this kind of stuff. What keeps me going through these bodily conditions that I've dealt with? Well, I want to see what happens in June. I want to see what happens in 2024. So when I feel horrible, I just remember, look, a lot of days I'm feeling good, and the days that I'm feeling good, there's a lot that can be done, a lot that can be seen, a lot that can be looked forward to in the future. It's why a lot of us are here. So that's why this topic matters more than anyone might think. You can stay in touch with Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics on Facebook. I've got a little group on MeWe going. I've got a little group on Reddit going. We've got the group on this channel going. There's a little group on the website going. There's a lot of places to get in touch and join this community. You can also pick up books of mine to get started. The best one is Understanding Life After Death. So maybe you're new around this channel. So, check out Understanding Life After Death. Watch the first couple of videos I put up way back in 2017. And that's a great starting point. And concerns, where we go when we die, and psychological effects on that, and how to have a more fulfilling and happy and meaningful existence by embracing non-materialism, embracing some of these subjects, and getting out of the Bill Nye way of looking at existence, which is, for one thing, it's dishonest, it's inaccurate, and it's the problem, at least in my opinion. Hey, maybe some of you guys have a defense you can make for materialism. I'd love to hear it. So anyways, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.